Hey, what's up, guys? On a few of the videos I made, I've had a few people comment on my videos in a bit of a rebuttal, I would say, which I totally respect. I hope people do that and question what I say, with especially bringing evidence from other people in the community. Like, I think that is the way we can really get to the bottom of things, and actually, I can learn something from that as well by the feedback I get from people. And one of them that I've gotten a number of times is people who say, well, Vigorous Steve says this, right? And I followed Vigorous Steve for some time, and I really respect and enjoy him. The other person that I also get a lot of people comment on is More Plates, More Dates says this. So this is how it is. And again, those two I kind of group in the same category in a lot of ways. First of all, very knowledgeable, both of them, especially Vigorous Steve. I love his scientific background and what he brings to the table in that regards. But I also have a bit of an issue on some of the things that he has said, and it's not so much of an issue, but it's just like my own questioning to it, because in this community, what's happening here is we are at a forefront of medical exploration that is like a tip of the spear that's exceeding the current medical paradigm. Okay, so in doing so, which is taking steroids, in doing so, we base a lot of it on two things. One is scientific research, okay, and the other is anecdotal experience. And a lot of times, then we have to bridge the gap between those two, right? And that's what we're trying to do now. That's what I try to do in my own thing, and then in practice, myself, do it in a way that I feel is most valid. So you maximize the rewards and mitigate the risks, right? Get the most benefit with the least amount of side effects. Isn't that the goal? Right. So in doing so, looking at research, previous research is key, and that's what Vigorous Steve does exceptionally well. I've looked at videos that he's done on Primable and Adderall and all types of compounds, and he's brought up papers from 1960s on things. But here's the thing: my own personal background is science. I have 2 science degrees essentially. And one thing I can do well is discern research papers and studies well. I was actually part of experiments where, I ran experiments essentially. So I understand how they work. Studies go. And there's a few issues I have with these. First of all, a lot of the studies that were done that involved anabolic compounds, the population was not best represented in the population that we are now. A lot of them were elderly people. The vast majority were not the type of physical and health well-being that people like me and you are, who are taking this compound. So the population group that they're extracting data from, I don't think best represents it. So a lot of the studies that Vigorous Steve says, I don't think best represents what sorry, my dog's making a racket over there. I think a lot of the studies that he says, not all of them, but a lot of them, don't best represent what is actually real. And I'll give an example of that. Okay, for example, Masteron. How many studies have been done on males of Masteron? Not many, if at all. I haven't seen any. You know why? Because Masteron was for women with breast tumor growth, and the only real studies that were done were mostly on women. Okay, now other studies with other compounds were for muscle wasting disorders. Now, who do you think they're going to be studying on the muscle wasting disorders, like AIDS patients, anemia, things like that, people wasting disorders, things like that? Okay, they're not testing it on individuals who have any type of dysfunction when it comes to musculoskeletal issues. Okay, people like you or me, imagine, who are wanting to take steroids to the next level are already healthy. So we're going from like a 0 on normal to a +1. A lot of the studies are people who are -1 who want to just get to normal. Okay, and a lot because I've listened to fucking Vigorous Steve a lot. He's one of the guys that I'm like dived into when it comes to learning about steroids. And I really enjoy him. So I'm not here to talk shit about him, okay? I think he's brought a lot of great things to the table. But him, like in as well, more plates, more dates. It's the same kind of thing. I think there is a fallacy that might be drawn there, because what they draw upon is almost too much scientific study. They're not drawing enough, I think, upon the real practical use of steroids. Okay, now some of you might disagree with me, and to be honest, I kind of disagree with me too, because I believe that they do that as well. But again, there are plethora of other people who are bodybuilding coaches, organic chemists, who are doctors, who work with athletes. And I believe these guys are about 3 levels above Vigorous Steve and More Plates, More Days. I'm just going to say. Vigorous Steve and More Plates, More Dates, they kind of got their YouTube cred, right, on making a number of videos that went viral and whatever, and he does what he does very well. Again, I don't want to take away from what he does. He does it very well. But there is an anecdotal side of things that I think they don't cover well enough, which is the tip of the spear. Because, you know, when it comes down to this trailblazing, groundbreaking science, which is the science of anabolics, and aren't we so lucky to have this access to through UGLs and things where we can buy any experiment on ourselves? That's what I'm doing. My whole channel here is a literal case study. That's how I look at it. And it's an experiment that I'm sharing with you guys. What's working well with me. And it's very much anecdotal. So it's about bridging that gap between the anecdotal and the science, right? And not to deny the scientific side of things. Trust me, there's a lot there that I don't even understand when it comes to things that I'm just beginning. Like, for example, the other day, learning more about the NOR19 biochemistry in the human body. I thought it was interesting that I thought every steroid was derived from testosterone. Turns out NOR19s are more derived from estrogen. How interesting is that? Now, estrogens also can be derived from testosterone. So, you know, it's all in relation, right? Biochemistry blows my mind, and that's something that I love to dive into. And I'm not, if you watch my channel, that's not something I try to preach about biochemistry by any means, because that's a little bit outside of my scope of practice per se. But when it comes down to the practical use of steroids in a TRT plus / HRT cycle, that's what I've really looked into, and I found that what works for me, and I think that will work for a lot of people, in finding the right ratios between the compounds. First of all, selecting the right safe compounds, and then the right ratios between these compounds and stacking them properly. But a lot of what I'm relaying is nothing that's technically groundbreaking. Like, a lot of people know that in this community already. I get that. But when it comes down to things like, for example, somebody mentioned something about taking Anavar, and Vigorous Steve said this about Anavar and things. Yeah, I'd be kind of weary about some things about that. I would stick to the tried and true methods, especially when it comes down to oral anabolics, which is don't exceed 6 weeks. Please. You can. Fuck, you can go 12 weeks. But from my experience running Anavar 6 weeks, I wouldn't. The feeling I get from running it, I don't know if I would want to run it more, because the effect it has on my like digestive system and like feeling of things. I don't know how to explain that. Maybe you'll understand when you run it for that long. I don't think you want to run orals that long. I've heard, I don't know if it was More Plates, More Dates or Vigerous Steve say, you can run Anavar at a microdose for like essentially indefinitely. I don't recommend that. You can do it because it affects your connective tissue more ideally or something. I would never do that. So, and a lot of times what him and More Plates, Bigger Steve, More Plates, More Dates do is, refer and to like actual studies and things, which is great. But again, these studies are not with bodybuilders. A lot of time they're back from the 1960s and shit when these chemicals were actually discontinued. A lot of them were being discontinued for years, and the only way you get them is through black market. Like there's been no studies on it, especially like I said with Mastron. Find a study on Mastron of fit males, please, and send it to me. I'd love to see that. You're not gonna find it, guaranteed. So, yeah, that's the moral of my story here. I'm gonna recommend right now at the end some other people that I would recommend over Vigorous Steve or More Plates, More Dates. Kurt Havens, Paul Burknett, and Dr. Todd Lee. Those guys, and some of the things they say I don't always agree with or take. When they say something, I'm like follow it 100%. But if you watch their videos, like I have over the last 8 months, you'll gain a great understanding. For example, Dr. Todd Lee, professional bodybuilder, doctor, biochemist. Kurt Havens, professional bodybuilder, coach, biochemist. Paul Burknett, professional bodybuilder. He's been doing this shit for years, right? And the science they bring to the table, I think, is a lot better because they bridge that gap between the anecdotal and the science, but as opposed to More Plates, More Dates and Vigorous Steve, that's just science. I really don't think they have the anecdotal side of things totally to a T, okay? I really don't. As much as I love them, I'll still watch them. Lots of great information there, don't get me wrong, and it's not like, hey, listen to me as opposed to those guys. No, not at all. Like, listen to those guys as opposed to me, to be honest. But this is my interpretation, which I hope you guys listen to, and I hope you guys, maybe disagree with. Leave in the comments below, please. I invite that. I invite disagreement, but as well, if you do agree with what I'm saying and have the same inclination, again, leave in the comments below. Let me know what you think about that. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a great evening. Peace.